Good morning, all monsters, maidens, and madmen. I'm Dylan, the Madman of Mensis, and I want to welcome you to the Dumb Shit's Guide to Dark Souls. This will be a beginner's guide to all things Dark Souls, meant to help beginners understand where to go to beat the game. This will not be an all-inclusive guide to the game, and won't cover every little detail of every area, enemy, and encounter. Instead, think of this as a tool to help you along when you're lost or can't get past a certain boss. I'll explain certain game mechanics and strategies, easy starter builds, and the general basics of the game that every player should know when starting out. While I may not be an expert at the game, I've beaten it many times and know a good amount, and while this particular guide may be tailored to beginners specifically, I hope that everyone might take some useful information out of my guide. That being said, I do plan to make more advanced guides in the future. More on that later. For now, let's get started. Go ahead and hit New Game and go through all of the menus it puts in front of you. These are just initial setup screens and don't really matter. Just set them to whatever you want them to be. I do suggest you familiarize yourself with the controls, but if you don't do it now, that's perfectly fine. The game will give you a tutorial when you jump in. Kind of. You'll see. Now that you're at the character creation menu, let's go over the jumble of numbers you see in the bottom left. Ignoring level and humanity at the top and bottom, you have 8 main stats: Vitality, Attunement, Endurance, Strength, Dexterity, Resistance, Intelligence, and Faith. Let's go over each one. Vitality is a measure of your health. The higher your vitality, the more HP you have. Simple. Attunement lets you equip more spells to use. We will go over this at a later date when we talk about magic. That won't be for some time though, so don't worry about it for now. Endurance governs your stamina and equip load. The higher this is, the more stamina you have, and the more things you can equip. We will be going over equip load very soon, so don't worry about that for now. Strength lets you use bigger, slower, heavy-hitting weapons, while Dexterity lets you use the smaller, faster, more dexterous weapons. These two may seem pretty confusing at first, but it'll become self-explanatory as the game goes on. For now, I'll sum it up by saying you can't use a weapon if you don't meet the strength or dex requirements. Resistance is an almost completely useless stat. Don't bother paying any attention to it. It's useless in PvE, it's useless in PvP. Just don't even bother with it. Intelligence lets you use sorceries, which is a form of magic in Dark Souls. Faith, on the same sort of genre of stat, lets you use miracles, which is the second of 3 forms of magic in the game. I will go over both of these when I talk about magic, so for now, just ignore these. Now, some of you might be overwhelmed by the large number of stats to choose from, but don't worry. I'm here. I'll help you through this. For this guide, we're only going to be worried about 4 of these stats: Vitality, Endurance, Strength, and Dex. And we're only going to be using 3 of those 4, as it is usually unwise to level both Strength and Dex at the same time. As I talked about in my previous Bloodborne tips video, it is best to choose one or the other, as you will be stronger, more damaging if you focus on just one. In this guide, I will focus on Strength myself, as you can get a very good Strength weapon very early on. But if you want to use a Dex weapon, feel free to do so. There are some great ones, and I'll throw in a few suggestions for good Dex weapons along the way. And everything I say about leveling Strength can also be applied to Dex as well. Now that we've covered what the stats mean, let's move on to choosing a class. Classes don't mean much in this game. They change what stats you start with and what equipment you're given at the start of the game, But otherwise, your choice in class does not matter one bit. It only matters if you are trying to min-max a character, but this is a very advanced concept, so you don't need to worry about it. Any class can be used to beat the game, but many of them are much harder to use for beginners. The hardest ones to use are Cleric, Thief, Deprived, and Wanderer. We don't want to be using any of these anyways, as there's better options for whatever you want to do. We'll also ignore the Sorcerer and Pyromancer classes, as they are magic based and we are going melee for this run. That leaves us with Warrior, Knight, Hunter, and Bandit. So which of these is best? Well, it depends. Warrior and Hunter are almost exactly the same. The main difference is that the Hunter has more dex and has a bow. This is a somewhat more advanced character due to the ranged weapon, but given that you can lock onto an enemy and fire the bow, it's easy enough to be included. Both Warrior and Hunter are strong characters to start with, as they have a pretty decent spread of stats. Knight is also a good choice for beginners, sacrificing some strength and dex for health. It's a little harder to take down than the Warrior and Hunter, so beginners might be more comfortable with that. And finally, we have the Bandit class. Those of you paying attention may notice something different about this class, as opposed to the three I just mentioned. Its strength is much greater than its dex. It is the only beginner's class to prioritize one or the other. For that reason, the Bandit is a great starting class for strength users, which means me. Now that you've chosen your class, it's time to choose your starting gift. There are really only two choices that matter: Black Firebombs or the Master Key. Or, if you want some unique dialogue from a select few characters, you can go with the Old Witch's Ring, but this is completely useless otherwise. I will choose the Master Key for this run, though I do not plan on using it. I am grabbing it solely to showcase alternate routes through the world for those that find certain bosses too difficult, or those that want to do some exploring. Now that you've made all the important choices for your character, it's time to customize. Alright, now that you've made your character, it's time to go through the Asylum, where you'll end up once you lose your mind going through this shit show. First, pick up the item and open the door. Simple and easy, there's no way you can screw this up. In this hallway are random orange messages on the floor. These messages are the Dark Souls tutorial. This tells you how to play the game and control your character. If you don't know what the controls are, read these messages. They're somewhat helpful. Go down the hall and up the ladder at the end. In the courtyard is what you will come to love more than anything else in this game. It will come to symbolize safety, security, home. It's a bonfire. Sit at the bonfire and get right back up. You can't do anything at the bonfire yet, but it serves as a respawn point. So if you die, you respawn there. Go through the big doors and into the next room. As soon as you walk halfway in, a giant demon with a giant hammer will jump down in front of you. But don't be intimidated by this fat tub of lard. Ignore him completely and turn left. You will see a door that opened as you walked in. Go through the door and down the stairs to the next bonfire. You can sit at it if you want, but there's not much point. Get up and go through the doorway. Up ahead is your first real enemy, meaning he's the first to attack you that you will fight back. But before you get to him, duck into the room on the left and pick up your shield. Go into your equipment menu and equip it so you can block the arrows headed your way. Now that you've got your trusty shield, leave the room and charge at the archer. He'll be so intimidated by you that he'll tuck tail and run away, all the way down the hall. Once you reach the next item, pick up your weapon and put it on. Go up the stairs after the archer and kick his ass. Alright, got your anger out? Good, because you're going to be feeling a lot more of it very soon. Go through the fog wall and you'll come to a branching hallway. Turn right. You can check left if you want, but there's no point right now, as you can't reach the item there. Headed right, you'll come across a staircase going up and down. Go down first and open the door. And congratulations, you've opened up your first shortcut. Sit at the bonfire to save yourself a bit of time in case you die to a boss you may or may not be facing very soon. Now go up the stairs. Don't worry, it's totally safe. Just completely 100%. Sorry, I meant it's almost totally safe. Now turn around and go through the hole that the boulder opened up and talk to the dying guy. Give him some company. Answer yes to his questions and he'll give you a couple of items as a thank you. Alternatively, slice his bitch ass up and save yourself some time. Free loot. The Estus flask is going to be your best friend on this journey, as it is the most reliable means of healing yourself. Now take a swig and shut up about the boulder, it didn't hurt that much. The other item you got was a key. You'll be using that in a second. Now that you've got your magic boo-boo juice, go back up the stairs and shank that bitch ass that hit you with a boulder. Feeling better? Great! Now go through the door using your brand new key in the process and get back to killing. There are 3 enemies up ahead, along with a 4th in the far doorway. Ignore the fog wall for a moment, along with what sounds like your mother in the middle of her me time. This 4th enemy is a harder variant of what you've already been facing. They're not too difficult though. Just block their attacks and hit back afterwards. Keep an eye on your stamina and you should be fine. Should. One more thing. If you chose any of the magic classes, which you shouldn't have, or chose to be a hunter, there will be another item here for you to pick up, right after the doorway. Equip it, and move on. Now to face the boss. Go through the fog wall, and you'll find yourself on a ledge looking down on the giant fat ass from earlier. Run off the ledge and hit the attack button on the way down to deal a good chunk of damage to him, and save yourself from broken ankles. But don't take too long, or he'll jump up and smack your bitch ass down. Once you're on his level, it's now a fight to the death with this massive demon. He may seem intimidating at first thanks to his size, but don't fret. I'm here to help you. Instead of just wailing on him, unlock and run around him to his backside. Once you're right at his tail, lock on again and start slashing. He'll try to attack whichever side you're on, but the tell is pretty obvious, so when you see him start his attack, move to the other side of his tail. Rinse and repeat until dead. The only other attack to watch out for is when he flies up for a bit and tries to smash you with his ass, Mario 64 style. It has the longest windup of any boss in this game, so when you see it, you got plenty of time to back away. He will turn and face you when he does, but he gets up very slowly. So as soon as he lands, you got time to run back to his tail to get some more punishment in. And that's it. Just watch your stamina and health, and you should down this boss no problem. Once he's dead, go ahead and open the big dark doors with that big key you just won. Congratulations! You've beaten the tutorial. But you're not quite done yet. Go up the winding path until you come to the first few graves. Turn left and make your way down the short path and behind the wall to find your first real item, a soul. It doesn't give you much, but every little bit helps here in the beginning. Now go back and go all the way up to the top of the cliff to initiate the cutscene. Congratulations! That's the Asylum done and checked off the list. You'll never have to see this place again. Nope. Never again. Not even once. Ever. never have to come back. Sit at the new bonfire in Firelink and enjoy your victory. Thank you all for sitting in on another Mensis lecture. If this great one's wisdom helped you to gain a bit of insight, consider hitting that subscribe button down below to enroll at the illustrious School of Mensis and join us in communion. Don't forget to hit that bell icon to be notified when any new insights are found, and I will see you for the next lesson. Class dismissed.